Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the JTM Community Podcast, where we are creating a community that you can bank on. I'm your host, Jason Melvin. If you're watching this, you already can tell we have a new guest here today. If you are listening, you have no idea who the guest is. Of course, if you like our content, whether it's through YouTube or Spotify, wherever you are consuming our episodes, don't hesitate to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all of the things that you all know how this works. If you want to touch base with me for advancement advising, you can do so at j-tm.community/podcast. You can also submit your votes there, your questions, your concerns, your ideas, your stories. It's a pretty good chance if you do that, it will be featured on a future episode. If you want to join our social medias, all the links are on the site on the top right. The easiest thing for voting and engaging with the community is to our Facebook. So go ahead and join both our community site as well as there is specifically for podcasts a group there as well. So makes it easy and convenient for you. It helps out the community and you never know who you might motivate or inspire. Without further ado, we are here again with our first timer, Mallory Walsh. So Mallory was born in New Jersey, raised in Pennsylvania. For the last 5 years, she has been a clinical orthodontist assistant. She is also you are killing me. She is also the better half of Levi Ebright. If you want to check out those two together on their Twitch stream, you can check out Cheddar Chug. Adult advisory is recommended. The language tends to be colorful, so putting that up there now. Mallory is also what you probably imagine when you hear the word nerd. And I'm sure we'll get into a little bit of that as we're chatting here today. So the topic we're talking about actually was originally from Mallory and put into a vote, is the idea of in a world where you can be anything, be kind. So when you say that, when you hear that, Mallory, what comes to mind? What does that mean for you?
Hello, everyone. When I hear that, it makes me think that there is absolutely zero reason for you not to just be a good person in general. And I think if the world was a perfect image in my mind, that would be like the case. So you never know when you're, doing your day-to-day thing and you're interacting with people, you never know if someone could be having like the crappiest day of their freaking life.
Sure.
And a smile can change someone's like point of view on their whole entire day. Anything, just a good, like a compliment. You don't have, like, being kind absolutely doesn't take like that much effort. It doesn't, it's it's like smiling. It takes way less muscles than it is to frown.
That is true.
And so I think you could change one person's life at a time, just being kind. And it could have such a great impact on people. So, I think that it's just something that we all need to work on.
You mentioned just a simple smile can change the day of someone. As you were saying that, it's created the image. It was a memory actually from, I used to hang out and work with my Uncle Dave when I was a teenager. And oftentimes, very, very often, while we were driving to a job, he did drywall for many, many years. He would randomly smile and wave at just like passerbys, like other vehicles and whatnot. And you could tell that it entertained him to do that, but just the confusion that it would cause on people, but they would always laugh. So even if they didn't wave in return, you could see confusion, like that, like they were trying to and you only have like a second, right, as you're passing each other. you could see sometimes like the confusion where they're trying to figure out like, how do I know this person? But even in that, like, I think maybe it's the discomfort of like not knowing that they would begin to smile. And that's from something
Yeah.
so silly, so silly.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it if you go out, right? So do you ever have the situation where somebody says something or waves and it feels like they're making eye contact with you, so you respond, but really it was like the person next to you or behind you, right? So initially it feels good until you realize that it wasn't aimed at you, and then it feels almost a little humiliating, right? So
Yeah.
if we're intentional, even if they're strangers, to be able to do that. So going back to that idea of in a world where you can be anything, be kind, when did you first either hear that or like have that thought or that perspective to kind of approach the world?
My mom got me a little plaque when I was first moving into like my first big girl apartment in Philly.
How long ago was that?
Oh gosh, that was like 4 years ago.
Okay.
3 years ago. Yeah. She got me that plaque and had that quote on it. And ever since then, I was like, that's right. That's right. She probably like gave that quote as a little hint because at the time I was in a horrible relationship. And she probably was hinting it. She was probably hinting it to my boyfriend at the time.
Sounds like it hit home for you though.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. It sure did. Didn't for him.
No,
didn't. He wasn't the kind. He wasn't kind. And those, yeah.
Not the kill him with kindness sort. It sounds like.
Oh God, no. Just the run of the mill narcissistic manipulative man that you just need to stay away from.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of those people.
Oh, for sure. And you got to just feel sorry for them in a sense, because just like, ugh. But like, I wish that they could just really learn from that plaque in a sense, and just learn to be kind, because I think it really can make your life better. If you surround yourself with positive energy and positive things, that's what you're gonna get. And like, you of course you're gonna run into things where, you know, it's not gonna be pleasant, and it's not gonna be the easiest things to deal with. But if you look at it in a positive way and you handle it like as best as you can, you know, you're going to get through it, and good things will come to you later on. That's how I got through that horrible situation. Kindness brought me out of it. It pulled me out, because I luckily got to meet, in that move, I got to meet some of the best people I've ever met. And it was when I was training to become a clinical assistant, putting braces on people's teeth. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, those friends, that friendship and the kindness that I felt from my best friends now helped me get out of that. And to this day, we're still like, we're a little farther now. I'm in the Poconos and they're still in Philly, but it's like an hour and a half drive. But
it's not too bad.
Yeah, I still put effort into keeping in contact and seeing them. So they saved my life. And
it really sounds like the kindness and love that they had shown you truly made a huge difference.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able, like, I was trapped in that really situation. And it's just, yeah, they saved me. They got me out of it.
Sounds like it was to a point where you couldn't quite see the light at the end of the tunnel. So their kindness was, even if it was a matchstick in the darkness, it was a little bit that you could see.
Yeah.
That's
right
awesome.
At the beginning, it was definitely that little like ember, and then it just They grew. They were fiery. They were like, get out. And I was like, yeah.
May I ask how long you were in that relationship?
Oh, I was in it for 5 years.
And was it always that way?
Sadly, it kind of was. It
Kinda
was
right from the beginning.
Yeah, but it was situationally, like it got just so much happened right at like the beginning of the relationship where I felt like I lost friends that I grew up with while in like that beginning stage of like that relationship. So it worked out so that it was like I felt like I didn't have anyone besides this guy. And like he wasn't great, but like I just kind of like felt trapped and stuck, and like I just felt like I wasn't gonna have anything else.
So it kind of became like codependent.
Yeah. But like it was sick because like halfway through the relationship, I knew like I knew I did not have feelings for this. I just was like, get away from me as much as like I possibly could without saying it almost. And then I just finally, with the help of my friends and like their kindness and their strength, I was able to break free and get away from it. It was just they helped me.
That's awesome. When you think of, because kind of that key word that we keep using is kindness, what does kindness mean to you? I feel like that is, it's a loaded word and can mean very, very different things to very different people.
Yeah. Well, being kind, it could be just, you have like levels to it. So it either can vary just from a straight up just being like a smile to like a stranger, but also just being there for another person when like if they really need you, being able to just have that like person to like lean on almost. And it's certain. So like when I'm working on patients, a lot of people have dental anxiety. Nobody likes to go to the dentist. So I find it when I say I need to be kind, I want them and ease my way into making them comfortable. And knowing that it is a safe place. I'm not your enemy. I'm like really just trying to like make them comfortable.
Well, you're providing a service they paid for ultimately.
Ultimately, yes, but they're still freaked out sometimes. I'm like,
sure.
I have to tell them all the time. I'm like, we don't do needles here. It's okay. Everything's okay. And like a lot of time it's communication to like really kind of calm them and finding the right words, your level, your tone, and everything wrapped up in one bundle of kindness that I like to think of. That's my little thing. And you just make it so that you're calm and you're right there. You're almost in a spa. I try and make them.
So you try to like lull them into like relaxing.
Yes. Nice. Everything's good. You're gonna be fine. I tell them exactly like I have to tell them. A lot of it is the unknown. Like nobody knows really. To like, you have to be really weird to be into like teeth, like I am. And it's a different language when I'm talking. So I like really like. I just get on their level, I just kind of like use words that they'll know.
Yeah, and help to like communicate that and let them know what the expectations are.
Exactly. Like I tell them step by step what's going to happen. And that's my that's what I think I'm being kind with.
Yeah, no,
I'm like, because I see other techniques of other technicians, they could be a little rough. And that's where
stop being a crybaby.
Jesus, come on. You gotta be a little nicer.
I feel like it's the orthodontist or dentist version of a doctor's bedside manner, right?
Oh, for sure.
So ultimately, you want somebody who can do the work and do it well, but it's really nice if they also have a good bedside manner.
Yeah. It's just a little cherry on top. You gotta have it. But it's not common in dentistry. Like
really?
this.
I would not have known that. When I think of kindness, I think at a very base level, it's civility, right? So that's almost neutral. That should be the base standard, where you don't go out of your way to have a negative impact, right? But it's also honesty in being able to say the difficult things, but to say it with grace and tasteful. So
Totally.
if somebody is struggling, to pretend that they're not, right? Or if somebody is doing something that is hurtful, to pretend that they're not, in order to avoid conflict or making them feel a certain way. I think most people would interpret that as kindness. And for me, it's the opposite of that, right? Because if you're doing them a kindness, you would help them to be better. You wouldn't pretend that the thing that is a problem isn't a problem, so that they don't grow and be better and have the ability to create better relationships and live a happier life. But I think we have like convoluted that idea of kindness to mean to not make anyone feel uncomfortable.
Oh gosh, yeah. You can be kind and you could be confrontational. Like those two things can be together.
Most definitely.
100%. Like my mom, I will fight for my mom and I will stick up for her. She's non-confrontational and she has had some issues in the past with other family members, and they just they just treated her like shit. Just to put it out there, just awful. And they just, for zero reason, because this woman's a freaking saint. She took care of she moved in, first of all, she moved in with my mom, with my grandparents, her mom and her dad.
Okay.
And she didn't have to. First of all, she has two other sisters, and she did that. And that, first of all, that's just amazing in general. She took care of them because my grandma, she had dementia. And my grandpa, he has macular degeneration. He's eventually going to go blind in his eyes. So, so she's still, my grandma, she passed away last summer. But she was a rock star. She took care of her. She changed her diapers. She just did everything. She freaking did everything for that woman. And she didn't, and it was for no reason that her other sisters were attacking her, basically. And I had to nicely, but I had to say something to stick up for her, because
Absolutely.
she just didn't have that in her. I think her fight was with somewhere else.
Okay.
And
so that's, I feel like that's a bit of a predicament, right? So that just raised an interesting idea, is that being kind for one, so in this case, your mom, almost brings you to the brink, potentially. Again, you can be confrontational and kind, but brings you to the brink of kind of violating what a lot of people think of kindness as: you don't cause anyone discomfort, distress, right?
Yeah.
So in an effort to show and be supportive to your mom, you also had to kind of violate that unhealthy norm that a lot of people have with your aunts, essentially, right? How do you navigate that?
I had to really make it so that they understood where they were coming from, because they're very prideful. And when you get that kind of mentality, it's hard for them to see what they're actually doing and seeing how it's affecting others.
Sure.
And you have to be just blunt and just straight up and they're family, and you have to be, I love them. So I want to just say, listen, this is how it's being portrayed for my mom.
This is the impact that's having.
Exactly. I know you are a good person. You are fantastic. You're a great person, but this isn't how you need to go about this. You need to you can be better. I know you can.
So it's almost kind of starting with, in this case, kind of with like the acknowledgement and praise of like the kind of person that you view them to be. However, these actions aren't upholding.
Exactly.
Were they, was that received well, did you feel? And I know it sounds like it's been a little while at this point, but.
Yeah, we're really it took a little bit. They had their own issues. And at that point, if they're not willing to be the better person in that situation and not.
What does that mean? Be the better person, as in better than who or what?
Oh God, be the better person in changing their ways, because it was not good.
So what you mean by be the better person is be better than the person you are right now in this moment, not necessarily the better person than the other person in an argument, which you hear a lot, right? It's usually they'll say, well, be the bigger person. No, that you don't. It is not healthy to allow somebody else to be shitty and you just take it and be the bigger person. But I love what you just said in the sense of be the better person, as in be better than you are in this moment.
Yeah, be the person. I told her, I'm like, come on, you are not that same aunt that I love. And I'm like, I need to see that again. So come on. But if they're, but like you said, it was, you have to just distance yourself until you feel that they're in a better spot, until you feel that if it's so bad and you feel like you are if they're trying to bring you down and you feel like you're happy and you're in a good spot and you feel like that person's just trying to bring you down and just be negative, it's okay to distance yourself from those people.
Most definitely.
It's absolutely okay. And you don't have to, it's not a clean break. It's just it's a pause. Because you can absolutely build back relationships in time.
Oh, sure. And I mean, if you've had 1,000 steps forward, it's okay to take a few steps back, right? It doesn't mean that the work hasn't happened before and that the relationship isn't built and you have certain feelings, the good and the bad, right? But taking a step back, even for ourselves. You raised another good idea that I hadn't thought of when it comes to again, that premise of in a world where you can be anything, be kind. You had just referenced, I don't know if you did it on purpose or not, but yourself is part of that. So can you think of moments, because I think most people will think what we did and where this conversation had gone, which was that idea of being kind to others. Can you think of moments where like the idea of that and the idea of being kind to yourself had become relevant or impactful?
Yeah. Hang on. Glitching. Hang on. Okay.
Did I lose you for a second?
Yeah, it's fine. I got you. You have to like one of my favorite shows. It's from Parks and Recs. I don't know if you saw that one, but you need to treat yourself. Treat yourself. You need to literally take care of yourself, because that your brain, your mental health is so important, where like being kind to yourself is important. I was dealing with some horrible anxiety, and I thought, I'm fine. I don't I could do this. But then you don't be afraid to ask for help. A lot of stuff, a lot of things, because I was kind to myself. I thought, because I got myself on some good medication where I'm like, oh God, it's like night and day. I'm like, I couldn't stop thinking about the next day. I was keeping myself up at night. Absolutely zero problems with zero issues with getting yourself self-help. Fucking help. If you need a mental health day, people, freaking take it.
When it comes to that idea, again, being kind to yourself, what has that looked like for you in the past?
Where I finally, like with the help of others, but I finally stood up for myself, got out of that freaking hellhole that I was in. And then I just took a 2-year break, and I had to, unfortunately, weird situation. I had to go back to my parents' house for like a year.
It's actually remarkably common.
Yeah. I have I just told like an old friend of mine who had the same situation. I'll tell people all the time. I had absolutely zero issues with that. Like, I was so lucky that my parents were this generous, like, kind to me to let me do this, because like I would have been screwed. I had to still pay rent at in an apartment that I was not living in, and it had to be somewhere where I couldn't have rent, like where I didn't have to pay rent.
Yeah, I mean, essentially you would have been paying double, huh? You had said something, and I'm going to challenge you for a second, because when initially you said I took basically a 2-year hiatus, and then you were beginning to acknowledge that you had to go back to your folks, right? And you could tell that you judged yourself in that very moment. I think you used the word weird. I can't recall what you said, which is terrible because it was like 30 seconds ago.
I talk fast, don't worry.
But you could tell immediately that you acknowledging that came with judgment. I would argue that is not very kind to yourself. So in a situation where you were doing what you needed for yourself, to care for yourself, to get yourself in a better position, why do you think your knee jerk is to shit on the fact that that's what you did? You overcame a thing, you did something very difficult, and yet you shit on the fact that you did it.
Oh, I shit on myself all the time.
I'm not kind to
myself that often.
That is not very kind of you, is it?
I know. I'm kind to others way more than I am to myself. I'll admit it right now.
Which I believe that's most of us. I can't even count the amount of times that I've chatted with folks or clients about the very thing and coming to the conclusion, if I said half the shit I say to me to someone else, they would stop being my friend immediately. Like, immediately.
Yeah. Totally.
Why do we do that? So again, in a world where you can be anything, be kind, yet we are terrible to ourselves.
You got it, man. I just like we're just way too hard on ourselves. The expectations I set for myself that I think I should be at, I have to really I'm working on it. I am. I try, just like I said before, I did help myself with trying to just help myself with the anxiety stuff. Sure. That's one step, but I still will be too hard on myself. And I don't know. I think people feel like there's a expectation on themselves and they have to meet it. And then if they don't, they feel defeated, and it's hard to live in the moment, especially in like just try and just focus on the good for yourself. I feel like it's hard sometimes.
I love the idea. How do you do that?
Oh man,
because if it was easy, we would all just be doing it, right?
For sure. Yeah.
How do you do it?
How do I be kind to myself?
Kind to you? How do you, in the moments where you have been able to kind of remind yourself or have that thought of, damn, that was like a shitty expectation to have or a shitty thought to have about myself. How do you navigate that? How do you actually implement that in the moments that you're able to?
Yeah. I allow myself to just be able to decompress from the day a lot. That's a lot. That's gonna help you just stay alive a little bit better. Like you need to relax. Like sometimes I just see like people that are just nonstop, just 24/7. I'm like, you're gonna burn out, man. You gotta calm down. But yeah, decompressing yourself, like I watch just like Bizarre Foods occasionally. Like after work. That's my new show right now. I always have a show that I'm currently watching.
Okay, it sounds like that's part of your like ritual to kind of like chill out.
And like trying to think of things more enjoying it than rather it being like a chore. I splurge sometimes, like with, I don't like shopping.
Okay.
And so I'll like go like food shopping occasionally. I'll get like crab legs occasionally. That's like
okay.
Treat myself. Treat yourself, basically.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as you said from Parks and Rec, treat yourself.
Hell yeah. Also I'm trying to also stick up for myself more often. I'll stick up for others and try and just be their advocate way more than I think I am to myself. And I have sometimes I get guilted into things from other people, and I have to remember, know your worth, know that you don't have to do anything that you don't want to, and
absolutely. Well, there's a few things you have to do, but death and taxes, right?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. What I've found it personally also within practice is the idea of gratitude and intentionality. So it's that one, and you know this a little bit, that I have a dark sense of humor, which is coincides with resiliency. Both a blessing and a curse, right? So tell me if this sounds like bullshit or if it sounds honest or applicable. Is that resilient people tend to be resilient to a fault, and by that I mean they will, as you put, will advocate for others, but self-advocacy becomes much less important because we can endure the shit. So we almost enable other people or environments to be unhealthy for the simple fact that we can withstand that level of unhealthiness or toxicity. So being in a relationship for way longer, when you knew, days, weeks, months into that relationship that you shouldn't be, and having the thoughts, the guilt, a sense of obligation, or you don't leave when it's hard, all of those things, right? That kind of play a role into that mindset, or the fear of if I do or I don't have anyone else, right? is we start to buy into that, but we can endure it. So it almost enables us, enable in the sense of an unhealthy approach, right? To endure the thing when the fact of the matter is we had the power and the choice to not have to endure it. We could have resolved it, right? So that's being maybe pissed with a sibling, right? And you just endure that tension versus choosing to have the courage in the moment, right? To do kind of what you explained with your aunt, to have a conversation that wasn't easy, right? And it sounds like if the impact was yours, I'm guessing you wouldn't have had the conversation, but because your love for your mom and it was impacting your mom, you were like, bitch, please, like this is not acceptable.
Exactly.
So why do you think, just your gut instinct of why that is, why we value other people so much higher than we value ourselves?
No, we just want to be, I don't know, are we people pleasers, man? I don't know. We're like, I think.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that's part of it.
Yeah, a little bit. But I think that's just sometimes, I don't know, it's so hard to like say how our brains work in those things, It's like it's hard to like pick it out, pick all those like things out and how it works. But I know like it builds and builds and builds, and then you finally can do it for yourself. It just takes longer. It really does. It's like painstakingly, sometimes it feels like it could be that it takes that much longer. And I think it sucks that it has to be like that.
I think, as you said that, I agree. I think it goes one step further, that it's not about time. It's about, back to the idea of endurance, that it's not that it takes longer, that it takes more. It takes more things to pile up before we say or do the thing that we already kind of knew we should have said or done. But because we can essentially take the hits, take the blows, like wade through those shark infested waters, right? If it's your mom and she gets nibbled once, you'd be like, nope, not okay. But you're wading through, you got a chunk missing out of your arm, half your head's gone, right? And yet you keep pushing through.
Yeah, because you feel like if you see something that you can speak out that isn't infecting you and you're going through all that stuff, oh yeah, you're taking that opportunity to talk about it and get your point across and just be able to finally speak, because maybe you don't feel like, in my situation, I didn't think I could talk, or else bad things would happen if I like spoke up too much.
So the environment is really what is conducive, right? So in an environment where speaking your mind and being honest and having an honest dialogue, again, kindly, but that it's welcoming to that, you're much more prone to have those conversations, do the things, do those actions. But in an environment where, even through kindness, by saying something that makes someone else uncomfortable, right, or creates a personal challenge, or challenges their actions or integrity, whatever it is, even if done kindly, in those situations, in those environments, with those kind of places or people, the response is punitive, which almost trains us then not to do it in the first place, to keep your mouth closed or don't do the thing.
Yeah.
One, I'm sorry that shit happened to you. Two, I'm super excited that you learned whatever you needed to be the person that you are, to have created the relationships that you found through your program and becoming an orthodontist assistant. It sounds like you had, well, I know you did because you literally just called them your best friends. So
Yeah.
there were definitely blessings that had come from that, it sounds like.
Definitely.
Well, and fucking Levi, I forgot about him.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's amazing how different, like, it when you actually meet and are with a kind person,
Mm-hmm.
how drastically things change. And that's why I wish, with the what we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
I would like, in a world where you could be anything, be kind, because in the end it works out just so much better. Talking with Levi is easy. And I never thought it could be easy. And that's how, like, I know, like, I'm in it. I just think he's the greatest thing ever. And
Nice.
it's awesome. It's so great. And I just wish everyone could have a Levi.
Nice. You are, we're in a moment in our country, apparently based on the news of inflation, and you just inflated the fuck out of his head.
I know. And I love that. I love giving people big heads. Make it pop. I'll tell them all, like, I'm not one. I will always tell people if they look great, if they just anything that could just brighten their whole freaking day. I love doing that. I gotten so many, and it makes me, that helps me feel good too. And it's selfishly, in a sense, because I'll get comments from, like, patients or people, just in general, just being like how, like, I help them get through, like, each appointment. Like, each appointment makes it easier and easier on them. And, like, it's just hearing, like, that I made their day makes my day. And that's great. That's everything that you need.
Kindness is contagious, absolutely. Said kindness is contagious, absolutely. So, like, paying it forward, that the premise of that, it actually used to get me into trouble. I don't know if because things coming from a male, that, like, our culture just perceives things in a different way. I really don't know why it happened. I never asked the people, because it was strangers, it was people that I personally knew. It's been faculty where I would get in trouble because I would say a thing and I would truly mean it and I was being kind, but their perception of what I had said, they chose that I must have been saying it sarcastically, and I wasn't. So then they would take offense to the thing that I said as truly a compliment, right? So I remember, there's so many, I couldn't even count them. But just random ones that come into my head as I say that. It was complimenting someone's skills as they were going through the counseling program. It was complimenting faculty's ability to teach and help their students learn, right? As those are the two that came to mind. Both of those got me into trouble because of how they chose to perceive it, right? So I truly hope that this idea of, in a world where you can be anything, be kind, truly becomes a thing. And then people can accept the kind words. And most people, myself included, it's difficult to take a compliment, right? Like, our brains naturally try to argue the good thing, right? So my buddy Will, who's often on this podcast, I do it all the time to him, and he's getting better, slightly better. And I hope Will does watch this episode. So it's a bit of a call out.
You're doing great in life. Keep it up.
Is anything, right? So whether it's work related, and he and I have had private conversations as well, is if something is said that is about his job being a teacher, and I will without question say he goes above and beyond, significantly above and beyond, right? So a teacher isn't required to engage with their students outside, or to go to open houses, or to go to concerts or choirs or games, right? Or to show up looking like the Grinch, right? So he does so many things that are above and beyond the expectation of anyone. Yet when he does it and people compliment him, or a student conveys how impactful he was in their life, his immediate response, and again, I hope he's listening. I would say this to him, and I have. So that's why I'm super comfortable throwing him under the bus right now. His immediate response is to downplay it and simply say, that's the job, right? And my challenge to him has been to acknowledge that's not the job. That's your heart, bro. Like that is where your heart is, right? The job is this. This is the standard. And for people to say, hey, Mr. Squires, you impact me in my life so much. Thank you for all that you've done. Or when their families reach out. It's to be able to take that. It's weird to me as I'm saying this and providing this story, that we take insults like it's standard practice, but we take compliments like it's a punishment.
Yeah.
People are messed up. I'm including myself into that shit.
We're so backwards, man.
It's so confusing.
We are. And
we're mean to ourselves. We don't take compliments even when it comes from other people.
Yep.
How do we change this? What's your thoughts off the top of your head? Doesn't have to be right, wrong, just the very first thing that comes to mind.
How do we stop that? Oh my God. Okay. Oh my gosh. That is so deep to even think of how to do that.
I think it requires a reminder.
Yourself.
Yeah.
It's keep your, just celebrate little successes in life. Just try and think of that as, you're reassuring yourself that those little things matter. Little things count too. No matter what, like big or small, like you're doing great in life. You're just surviving. That's great. Try and just be your freaking cheerleader sometimes. And that is so hard to do though. Like it
is. Yeah.
It just takes practice, I think. Yep. Little steps in life, like to that goal.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's just, you don't have to do massive leaps. I think it is.
The idea that, and I absolutely agree, the little things can make a huge difference, and they become a necessity, right? So if in celebrating ourselves, I think starting the day and creating a routine, just like hopefully people do with sleep or food, whatever it is, right? So we tend to be creatures of habit, work, right? So most things are on like day schedules, time schedules, is to implement that idea of starting your day with gratitude, whether it's things that you've done or you've experienced, or finding the silver linings even when things are difficult, right? If I use you as an example, you went through something that was terrible in a previous relationship, but there were things that you learned from it. You learned what a relationship shouldn't be. You learned what advocating yourself should be, and that it should be safe. And you learned what having friendships where people care about you, right? You learn that it's okay to speak up or step out or step back, right? Referring to your aunt.
Yeah.
But we forget that for some reason, and we're largely culturally kind of like socialized to focus on the negative, I think. So if we look at the news, it's going to be like 9 out of 10 stories is a bad thing, right?
I know.
So we almost have like, yeah, we expect it, right? We expect the bad. Or I can't tell you how many times I've worked with folks when things were going good. It actually created anxiety for them because they were waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because just the perception, like life is usually shit. If it's good right now, something bad is about to happen, which is a really sad way to view things. But going back to that topic of in a world where you can be anything, be kind. If we all started doing that, doing it to ourselves and to others, even when things are hard, you're not alone. Even when things are hard, there's support, right? It's a lot easier to lift a tree with 10 people than it is to try and shoulder that by yourself.
For sure.
Or to get a chainsaw, right? I mean, we can use tools too.
My dad has a collection. He
Nice.
loves to fix things. He has 13 lawnmowers and like fucking 10.
He's got
chainsaws.
like the start of a lawn company.
Dude, he's insane. He got our first generator.
That wasn't very kind.
I love him. I love Tim. He is so kind. I don't think he's kind to others. And I think
Okay.
honestly, for us to think of having a world where a lot more kindness is shown,
Mm-hmm.
I think it really just can start with being kind to yourself.
Yep.
And I think that's sometimes harder than it is to be kind to others.
Oh, sure. There's no accountability to yourself, right? So if I'm mean to somebody, like the chance that there's instant accountability, even if it's like guilt. But if you shit on yourself, nobody knows.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing to say, hey, Jason, stop that. That's not very nice, right? Exactly. You're the only one that would. I truly love where you're going, and that's that idea of kind of start the day, like have a reminder, whether it's a thought, a part of a routine, if it is some kind of symbol, or sometimes it's a plaque, right? It is finding a thing to have the reminder to start the day being kind to yourself, because if you start with that perception and that mindset, just by default, you're going to be kinder to the people around you, whether that's in your immediate life, you and Levi, and then stepping out, you and friends, and then stepping out further, you and coworkers and colleagues and customers.
Like you said, it's contagious.
Yep. It's like a laugh. Like it is really difficult if somebody else is laughing, and I mean like laughing, right?
Oh, for sure.
Because even if or initially you feel uncomfortable, like it's like, wow, this person is like kind of losing it. They're laughing so hard. I was a few months ago. It's actually one of the liked videos. You might have to dig through like 1,000 of them, but on the TikTok liked videos, for folks listening, you can actually find it there. They're on a bus or a train. I think they're on a train, and there's a guy watching something on a tablet, and he starts laughing. And originally, people look at him like this is uncomfortable, and they're looking at him like you're violating a social norm. Like that's and then he's laughing more and harder, and then you start to see people starting to their faces are going from concern to starting to smile, and then he's like rolling laughing, like that belly laugh, and then everyone else just starts laughing, right?
Love it.
It's so good for the heart. It's that idea, right? Be kind to yourself, laugh at yourself, chuckle, like that's okay. Even the idea of expectations and failures, right? You don't fail, you fall, right? And when you fall, you get back up. The only essentially fail is when you quit. And sometimes, I mean, we're prone to quit on ourselves for whatever reason, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's something to work with.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. To kind of wrap things up, I always like to do it. What is a little nugget that you can leave everybody with? A thought, a challenge, an action?
Give a compliment to a stranger. Do it. Do it. See how the reaction is.
Yes. Be safe. Don't put yourself in
places. In a good way, in a safe way. I talk to strangers all the time just because of my work. But and then another quote, and it's good. It's a good quote. I love.
Let's hear it.
I love Avatar: The Last Airbender. Sometimes it's from Uncle Iroh. Sometimes the best way to solve your own problems is to help someone else. And that's how you can be kind sometimes, is just to help people.
Yep.
Like give out a hand. Give a hand. Just give a finger.
Give it a go. Just don't neglect yourself in the process.
Exactly. Yeah. Think of your own problems sometimes. Bring that up.
You don't just get to avoid it and go all in other people's problems, for sure.
Yeah. Don't make their problems your problems. Also, that's something that you can.
Yeah, there's people that do that. Absolutely, I might know one or two.
Oh boy, yeah, but be kind.
I love it. Thank you so much, Mallory, for joining me for this podcast. If you like the content and personality of Mallory, you can also catch her and Levi at least on Mondays, but I feel like I've been seeing it more than just Mondays lately.
Mondays, sometimes Wednesdays.
Okay, Mondays, sometimes Wednesdays, under Twitch, and you're looking for Cheddar Chug, you can also just check the website j-tm.community, and on the main page there, you'll see community partners, and Levi's / Cheddar Chug is in there for your ease of finding folks. And again, thank you, Mallory, for helping our kind of conversation about being in a world where you can be anything to be kind. And thank you for everyone who has tuned in and for being part of a community where you belong.